Okay, so today we're going to talk about RE1, and more importantly, the rumoured remake of a remake that it's getting. And there's a lot I don't agree with within the Resident Evil community, and I really do agree that it doesn't need one. But at the same time, I can see the positives from them making one. You know, it opens up the game to new audience. It modernizes the game so it's more playable for newer audiences, and in that sense, I can agree with it, but I personally think the remake we have is fine. But on that topic, today we're going to be talking about how they could make the game more playable for new audiences of the franchise, and how they could change the gameplay of it, and maybe how the flow of the game works. But without any further ado, let's get into some ideas I have behind what they could do with the game. I think the elephant in the room with the original game is the perspective. Newer players, I suppose, aren't used to games that have fixed camera angles, okay? Not many games come out nowadays that have them. There is a newish game that came out recently called Tormented Souls, which is a brilliant horror game, by the way. And it really does take you back to that fixed camera angle style of game. It's very well done, and I really don't care about fixed camera angles. You know, I think they're good. They're fine. Like, if they fit the game, it's a good thing. But, you know, with the newer games and their audiences they've brought in, you know, they're going to be younger players, and, you know, this stuff is probably, like, ancient to them. So, I think the best way to do a RE1 remake is a third person over the shoulder. To an extent, maybe first person, because I think the narrowness of the mansion itself would fit a first person horror game, but maybe the option to go between both. But it's most likely going to be over the shoulder if they do it. Now, for people like me who have played the original, played the remake, you know, more times than we can count, maybe an option to keep that camera perspective in, because, you know, it's how we're all used to playing the game, and, you know, I have no issues with it myself. But yeah, I think primarily it's probably going to be a third person perspective game. Character differences and stuff like that. So you got Chris and Jill, both have different inventory sizes, different health pools, as well as the ability to lockpick doors or finding a bunch of old keys to open doors that you wouldn't normally get access to. Very unique in terms of how they kind of play the game, and they do have uniqueness to the sections of the game as well. I think that should definitely stay. I think you should still have the option to pick between the two characters, but what I do think is they should probably expand on, you know, the story between the two of them, like have them do completely different things rather than the same thing in a different way. I think it would kind of flesh out what's going on a bit more. I don't know to what extent they would do that, but maybe add, you know, sections you wouldn't actually be able to get to at all as the other character, and then kind of just flesh those out a little bit as well. Maybe new enemies that only one of the two encounters, just to kind of make the reason to play the two campaigns a lot more prominent than very kind of small sections and, you know, unique character traits. The only reason I'm saying that at all is because, again, Resident Evil 2 got remade, and I guess, you know, it brought in new audiences, and both the campaigns are different enough to warrant playing them, you know, again. If a newer player from, you know, coming from those games plays this and sees that the game is practically the same, apart from there's different solutions to puzzles and how you get keys and stuff, I don't think they'll be encouraged to play it through again. I really don't. I think the attention span won't be there. So maybe kind of, you know, make the campaigns unique, you know. But that's just me. That's just what I think. I could be wrong. I don't want them to do that. Keep that in mind. I don't want them to do that. But I think to kind of keep a player engaged nowadays, that might be the best way to do it. Now, the core of the game, okay, the limited inventory, the item boxes, the limited saves, whatever, that needs to stick. Regardless of what they change, that needs to stick. People are used to it. It is in RE2 Remake, it is in RE3 Remake to an extent, it is in Resident Evil 7. Do not change that whatsoever, okay? The latest two games, Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil Village, are very same. They're very similar to each other, you know, there's no item boxes, there's no limited saving, they're all action focused, okay? Do not change that in this game. I don't think they will at all, but I'm just getting it out there, you know. Keep it a survival horror game, you know, it's very good as it is in terms of a core gameplay level, so do not change that at all. In terms of kind of going off of, you know, the remakes and what it'll be more similar to, I think Resident Evil 2 Remake is probably the biggest one. Again, those games are, if you play the original games, they're very similar. Resident Evil 2 does improve upon stuff from the original game, and yeah, I think a remake of 1 will definitely kind of take a lot of ideas from the 2 remake and use them in their game. But to be brutally honest, you know, in my completely honest opinion, my own opinion, there's not a lot they can change that would make this game better. I think the remake itself that we have is solid. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I really don't think they should remake this game. Again, you know, the biggest reason is to kind of draw in new audiences, set up old characters that have started to be reintroduced, like Wesker and stuff like that. You know, set up his storyline a bit more so people know who he is and why he's doing what he's doing. Obviously, RE1 is like the origin of that, really. So, you know, it makes sense for that. But all they would need to do, you know, if they kept the game the same, if everything stayed the same, still fixed camera, still kind of limited inventory, campaigns were the same, and they just visually upgraded it, that'd be fine with me. Obviously, that wouldn't slow everybody. You know, people wouldn't want to be paying like how much is it for a game now? £60, £70, just for a graphical overhaul. So they would need to change it in some way to make it worth buying. But there is so little wrong with this game that warrants a full remake, other than maybe the perspective, maybe the controls. That's about it. Now, the ideas I've given would, I think, definitely appeal to new audiences of the series. You know, people that have come from the remakes and people that have come from the new entries in the mainline series. But honestly, if anyone watching this right now hasn't played this game yet and is interested in playing it when it gets remade because it will play like RE2 or whatever, I really encourage you to buy this, play it through on both characters, and then kind of see what you think. Like, I guarantee you, if you get used to how the game looks and how you kind of move around and the perspective and stuff like that, I promise you, you'll find an absolutely fantastic game in here, because there's so little to judge from this, you know. And if you have a PS5, or a PC, sorry, even better, because the director's cut of the PS1 version, like the old version, is playable. And I've played that on YouTube. There's a video somewhere or a stream somewhere of me doing it. And yes, that one did need some attention, but this one is, you know, it's so good, honestly. So I really don't see why it needs loads of changes in a remake. It all comes back to the kind of idea that there are different games in the series right now that need more attention than this. You know, this is a remake of an original game. We don't need two. I genuinely don't think we need two. Will I buy it if it happens? Yes. Do the kind of opinions and thoughts I've given in this video appeal to newer audiences? Yes, because I've spoken to people who have been introduced to the games through the remakes and through the new games, and they prefer how they play compared to this. So I think naturally those players will enjoy this game more if it played like the 2 remake and 7 probably. But yeah, I don't have an issue with it myself. I know this video went on a bit of a tangent, but there is really very little to kind of say to judge this game. I just think it's great, personally. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. If you agree with what I've said that could improve it, do let me know. If you have your own thoughts on what they could do to improve it, do let me know. But yeah, it's an interesting topic, and well, I guess we'll wait and see if they actually decide to do it or not. But as always, thank you all for coming by. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you are new. I try and upload most days and try and stream as often as possible. So there's always something going on the channel. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.